Our lives begin to end the day we stop becoming silent about the things that matter. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. Our topic of discussion today is Road to Elections 2024. Joining me this evening to pose questions from our panelists, on to my immediate right is Niresh Thambi, Consultant Director at Newsfirst. On to my immediate left is journalist Nadeem Majid. Joining us this evening as panelist on the show tonight is Krishmal Varanasuriya, attorney at law, representing the Samag Janabalawegya, Chaturanga Abhisingha, representing the National People's Power, Amindika Ratnayaka, representing the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna, as well as Prashant Divizia, representing the United Centenary Front. Let's get the ball rolling today with Krishmal Varanasuriya, representing the Samag Janabalawegya. Krishmal, now in 2015, you were with the JVP. 2020, you were with the UNP. Now you are with the SJB. Why?
How many minutes do I have for this answer?
You have approximately 3 minutes.
2015, I was not with the JVP. It's a correction. The JVP invited me and the then Auditor General and several other professionals from outside of the party to come and, as they called it, adorn the national list. And we all know what happened thereafter. I don't think we need to go back in history. The two national list seats were won. And at the time, many believed that, so far as I was concerned, that I should have fought it or gone to court or whatever. But I believe that that was not a matter for me to argue about. Because whether we like it or not, our constitutional permits a party secretary to overrule the mandate of the people. So that when the people defeat the candidate at an election, the party secretary can decide, no, I'm still going to put him into parliament. That's the constitution. So I left it at the constitution. I went back to my practice, and I'm still, I consider them friends still, although we are politically not together. All these people have come home, including Anura, Sonil, Vijita. I met Vijita a few weeks ago. So politics ended there. I thought that there was a service that I could do on the national list. So did they, otherwise they would have marketed me. But then that was it. As far as the UNP, first time in my life I joined a political party in 2020 because I was invited by the incumbent, His Excellency the President, then party leader, still party leader, probably forever party leader, Mr. Vikramasinghe, to come and join, because a lot of people have left the party at the time. Not just me, people like Oshala Herath, who's contesting this election, Dr. Ajanta Pereira, Dr. Chandra Vijayagunathan, we all joined the UNP at the time. But then, you know what happened. The entire country was lost. And in true Westminster style, I took my letter of resignation to Mr. Vikramasinghe, to Sirikota. And I gave my resignation. And he didn't want to accept it. He said, well, in that case, the whole country must resign. But I said, I can't speak for the whole country, but I can only speak for myself. I resigned, and I resigned to my practice. You know, I started working in the National Court. I started practice in London. So I was 1 month here, 1 month there. So I was away happily from politics until Mr. Premadasa invited me and said, can you consider this? I looked at what the country needed, not just his invitation. And I know that we are at a precipice. We will not run another 6 months without a proper team. I looked at his policy. I looked at the man. I think he's sincere. More importantly, I looked at the team around him, which I think is the only team that's capable of taking our country out of where we are. If you look at the array of proven experts, not just namesake experts, proven experts in their various fields. And so I decided to get behind the campaign. No deals, nothing promised, just to get our country out of where it is. And so that's the answer. I'm sorry it took, I don't know how many minutes it took. It took a while.
But if you look at it, in 2020, when you came on Face the Nation, just prior to the general election, I asked you, what's going to happen if you lose the polls? You said you would retire because the people did not want you to become or come to politics, and that would be the end of your tenure as a politician. But you're back in the saddle again. So someone may look at you and say that you're joining the SJB because of a petty agenda. What do you have to say about that?
That's a fair question. I remember you asking me the question, and I also remember telling you, yes, if I think what you said was not quite the answer I gave. What I said was that if I am in a position to do something for the country, and if I can't do it, I will not do politics again. As a lawyer of 25 years, I very rarely forget what I say. If so, I wouldn't have been able to practice this long. So that's what I said. So as you know, and as I explained, what happened was, 2020, the entire country rejected the UNP. And mostly, it was not because of anyone who contested the UNP. It was mostly because of that leadership. And I remember that we could hardly go into a house with Mr. Wickramasinghe's pamphlet. People would reject us, saying that this was the man who broke up a party. And now I know why Mr. Premadasa and that crowd broke away from the UNP, because there was no inter-party democracy in that party. Well, look at what happened to us. Immediately 1 month after elections, no one was even inviting us to Sirikota. So, yes, I did say that. But, Shamir, exceptional circumstances call for exceptional measures. I would not have even considered coming to Sri Lanka and joining Mr. Premadasa. I mean, I was in and out of Sri Lanka for my legal practice, but not for politics. I was away. Very finally, 4 years later, I walk in your studio. I've never been to a TV station for the last 4 years. But I believe that there is a, yes, someone might think that there is a deal, but I think as a person who benefited from the taxpayer of this country, who got education at the University of Colombo, there is a debt I must repay before I die, at least for my children's future and their generation. And if people like us with experience don't get around the team that I believe can take Sri Lanka to that next stage, then my duty is not done. So that's why I'm here.
Krishman, very quickly, now you worked with the JVP somewhat. You said initially that you were invited by the leadership of the JVP.
No, I worked very closely.
Now, 2019, you started working with the United National Party as well. Now you're working with the SJB. What salient differences you see in these three political parties, and why are you supporting the candidature of Sajith Premadasa to become the 9th executive president of Sri Lanka?
Very good question, Shamir. The main difference I see is that he's not a one-man show. Main difference. I remember running that 2020 election and where we would sit at a meeting and hardly get a word in because it's only the leader that speaks. But with Sajith, I mean, he was a few years ahead of us at St. Thomas's Prep, so I've known him for a while. But that's not the only reason. I'm comfortable to speak to him. He'll pick up the phone each time I speak. And that's not just for me, anyone else. And more importantly, the team around him. I mean, if you look at very quickly, people like first-class engineers like Partli Champakiranawaka, Charita Herat, proven administrator, Professor Anru Utumange, Kabir Hashim, Harsha, Professor G.L. Pires, people who in their area, and even my 25 years, I haven't scraped coconuts in courts, not just here, both overseas and at the international court. So all these people have got together because obviously there's some belief in Sajith that he's a man who can do this.
But if you look at it, Krishmal, you mentioned a few names, but you also forgot to mention the names of individuals who are riddled with corruption.
You go through the whole list.
No, who are riddled with corruption, who are in the ranks of the SJB at the moment.
Tell me one.
We saw the manner in which, in 2015, how a book was published by a former parliamentarian on the bond scam. Then we see individuals who are riddled with the corruption in terms of cricket, who's in the camp of Sajith Premadasa as well. So it's not a clean slate that we're talking about. There are individuals who are riddled with Securities and Exchange Commission violations, allegations in the SJB. So you cannot say the SJB has a clean slate, can you?
I am saying it for this reason. Mr. Premadasa was very clear when this same question was posed to him at some other fora, that anyone can join my attempt to become the president as long as they agree to my manifesto. Now, Shamir, what we must remember is these are
however much they are corrupt.
No. You must permit me to finish my answer. Yeah? So his statement was, anyone that gets behind this formula are welcome to back my presidential candidature. Now, this is not a parliamentary election. Lots of us get this wrong. If time permits, I want to take us through this. We are electing an executive, not the legislature. Now, anyone behind this movement can support Sajith. That doesn't necessarily mean, number one, that they are going to be given any position because we are not forming a government. We are electing a president. That's the time that we will have to pick and choose as to who the best team is. Number one. Number two, allegations alone, Shamir, unfortunately or fortunately for this country, we live in a system not like China where you have to prove that you're innocent. Here, you're considered innocent until proven guilty. The fact that there are allegations don't make you a convict or anyone who had been proven by a competent court as someone who had committed an offense. So the scandal that you spoke of the bond scam and all that, tell me one person that have been convicted who is in the camp. And then I may rephrase my answer. However, right now, I can't see anyone who has been convicted by a competent court that's in that camp.
Right. Thanks a lot, Krishmal Varasuriya. But I just want to bring to your attention, Krishmal, when the Central Bank of Sri Lanka was formed, the first governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka was John Exter. And he went on to say that anyone who holds a position of governor, if his integrity has been questioned, he is not fit to rule or govern the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. And we saw the manner in which how there was a lot of opposition in 2015 when Arjuna Mahendran was appointed to the post of governor in the Central Bank of Sri Lanka as well. So it's all about integrity at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Right. I now move my
But I don't know whether we have a governor in our camp.
I now move my attention towards Chaturanga Abhisingha, representing the National People's Power. Chaturanga, one of the allegations leveled at the NPP is about not having a proper plan. We've had individuals on this very show, and when we speak about the plan of the NPP, they seem to be not having any words. They say that they don't know what's going to happen after the 21st of September 2024.
Who said that they don't have a plan?
So a couple of weeks ago, Chaturanga, we had a representative from the NPP on this very show. The last 4 weeks, we've had individuals representing all political parties. When we asked them, what's going to be the plan of the NPP after the 21st of September? Is the NPP government, hypothetically, if elected as president, would they dissolve parliament? Who's going to be in their cabinet? There are no answers. So I think you are more qualified to respond to that. So we are having you today on the show.
Right.
So tell us what's the plan of the NPP after the 21st of September,
21st
if elected.
of September, it's not if Andre is going to win. So we will dissolve the parliament. So there are three options which we will not pick now, but we will decide within the last few days. One is that there's constitutional provisions. The president can hold all the ministerial portfolios. And there's a provision where a cabinet can be formed with the NPP candidates, because there's no minimum amount of the cabinet that's been mentioned in the constitution.
So technically there would be 3 members of parliament who would
Plus
be...
one.
No, plus one would be the president. That's Anil Kumar Dissanayake.
Yeah, there will be 3 members.
There will be 3 members.
And
so
then
are you trying to tell me that all these 3 members would be holding the cabinet portfolios required for the country?
Yes. So, and majority will remain under Anura in that case. The last option is to invite few more people within the current parliament to hold certain portfolios for 2 months.
Chaturanga, we are talking about an export-oriented economy. Are we not?
Yes.
Does the NPP believe so?
Of course, we are the only party who projected...
If so, why is it that your manifesto does not go on to talk about free trade agreements and the need to abolish these free trade agreements with other countries?
Our manifesto clearly says that we will review the current 3 agreements, which is with Pakistan, which is with India, and which is with Bangladesh. And we would look for more agreements on the new markets as well as new products, and especially the markets which we have not penetrated. So our policy clearly states that we would go for agreements that are beneficial for Sri Lanka. I don't know where did you pick from, whether Ranil Wickremesinghe is lying all around, saying that NPP has said that we are going to...
So we'll come back to that in a minute, Chaturanga. Today Ranil Wickremesinghe is not on the show, so unfortunately
No, sir, what I'm saying, I don't know whether you picked from that.
If he was, I would probably ask him that question, but let's leave that.
Because I have the policy with me.
Let's have a constructive engagement today on the show.
So
Chaturanga, tell me, with regard to members of other political parties joining political parties like the SJB at the moment, the UNP at the moment, why is it that individuals from political parties are not joining the NPP. Are they scared?
No, everybody who went to SJB had spoken to us for the last 1.5 years, and we rejected them for certain reasons. Because we have a philosophy and we have a policy and we have a way of governance and how politics works. So unfortunately, the people who discuss with us, some we had problems, some we didn't have problems. So people we didn't have problems, they were not very much aligned to how the culture of NPP. So I think they decided for themselves. So I think not that they are joining. We are very concerned about who joins us and for what purposes, what kind of political culture they would continue. So what we have been very clear is, if anyone wants to join us, you can come and work with us. If you don't have any record of issues of malpractices or allegations, and you will be in trust, we will work together one day, that you can be part of our main team. But we can't allow anybody who's joining now to come to the exco or to give a ticket or to give
So are you trying to say that individuals who are joining the SJB or the UNP for that matter are going to that parties or going seeking some advantage?
Two things. One is the advantage, other one is they would like to continue the same political culture. If I give you a specific example, I will not name the person. So we told that if you want to come, you can join and work with us. But he wanted to bring his people from the urban council, the Palat Sabha. And the main question was, what would I tell them? That entire lot has to come. We said, no, that is not possible.
So, Chaturanga, we cannot independently verify who this person is. So
what I'm trying to say is,
on hearsay, but on this show tonight, let's make it a constructive engagement, as I say.
So, Samir,
important.
So, no. What I'm trying to say is, it's a culture.
Right.
So, basically, if it's not fitting to our culture, we wouldn't entertain.
So, very quickly, Chaturanga, tell us, which political party is leading the NPP at the moment?
In the sense?
So the NPP encompasses of the JVP, am I right?
Yeah, JVP is the main party.
So JVP is the main party. So for those individuals who are watching this show tonight, those who are fearful of what happened in 88, 89, we saw the man in which how the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic was also attacked in the 89 era. And we saw the Diyavardiname at that time pointing the finger directly at the JVP as well. For those who are for those who are fearful of the NPP coming into power, led by the JVP, what do you have to say?
So I would have to say, you need to first start reading what happened in 88, 89. Second, from 1994 to now, JVP has been the party who has been working towards democracy. 17th Amendment was brought in, the 4 commissions we have, by JVP, and supported the 19th Amendment, supported the 20. So, and also they have no record of violence for 30 years in the politics, and they have been fighting for democracy, fighting for the constitution, right? I think Mr. Srimal, when he was, Krishmal, when he also decided to put his name behind JVP on 2015, would have thought that this party has, made inroad into the democratic aspect.
So that you're saying 30 years ago, since 30 years ago, the JVP
from 1994.
From 1994, it's a clean record. There is no problem.
Yeah.
But before that, don't you want to touch what happened?
No, I can touch on 1983. So first is...
No, let's talk about 88, 89.
No, you can't talk about...
71,
no, you can't. 71, yes, 71, if I clearly say.
Why are you only restricting this to 30 years? Why don't you look at the broader...
No, we can take... So
the last 60 years,
because that's what I'm saying. So when we are talking about the history, let's talk with the other parties as well. Right. Everybody has a history now. So 71, in the world, there was this whole movement of left politics, insurgency in terms of taking power through, not democratic means, right? So they tried it in 1971. Right. And then they came back to the democratic mode in 1982, contested the elections as well as Vijay Veera. Then during 83, J.R. Javardhana kind of restricted the party, not only JVP, but many parties out of politics. And then 87, 89, it was like Aragale that happened. It was the Deshapremi Janata Vyapara, that is against the agreement between Sri Lanka and India. So that is where this violence took place. And I think there has
That's
been...
fair.
No, that's not fair in terms of that is been very clearly JVP has stated when we were attacked.
Killing of 60,000 people?
No, killing of 60,000 people has to be accounted by the government. JVP did not kill 60,000 people. I think the account that been targeted to the entire whole incident is 3,000 people, and that is not... You can't block everything to the JVP.
Nothing wrong with it's one or two.
Yeah, no. What I'm trying to say is,
you're talking
so the
about.
thing is, Shamil,
why is it?
it's
why
okay.
is it only 3,000?
So your question was whether people are afraid of it. No. So now people are not afraid of it, and they are ready to vote. And for people who are afraid of it, I answered there is enough information and there's enough reference.
Right.
People who support JVP. So if you want to drag that in this particular conversation 2 weeks before, we have been answering this pretty well, and pretty much our leader has been cleared this out in New York, in Australia, all these meetings, this similar question.
Why not in Sri Lanka?
No, we have always, in the parliament also, he has kind of said, basically, we are not happy with what all the things that happened. There are things that has happened
An
which should have...
apology? An apology?
Yes. Anura has made an apology in terms of things that shouldn't have happened has happened.
Right. Thank you
so
very much,
let's move forward of it, right?
Thanks for Chaturang Abhisingh, representing the NPP. I now move my attention towards Amindika Ratnayaka, representing the Sri Lanka Pujara Peramuna. Amindika, you are an attorney at law. Do you remember the times during the Aragale in Sri Lanka very well?
Pretty well.
Pretty well?
Yes.
You remember what exactly happened, transpired, all that and more?
Yeah, it's like actually.
Yes and no question. Is it?
Yes,
do you
I
remember?
Pretty well.
Okay.
I said it's yeah.
Right. So, Amindika, just getting back into what the people wanted during the Aragale was two things.
Yes.
Let me finish.
Sure.
First was they want system change. Second was they wanted the Rajapaksas out.
Yes.
Today you are supporting Namal Rajapaksa, who the people themselves rejected at the 2022 Aragale. Why?
Okay. The first things you asked 2 points. One is the Aragale was like to change the system, and the second thing is that they rejected Rajapaksha. I will go for the first one, the system.
You can answer both.
Yes, yeah. For the system change, I think the best person that tried to address this issue was Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the former president. He did a massive. He tried to do a lot of changes in the system, but unfortunately there was some the mechanism he used did not fit with the people. It was not accepted by the people he came up with good things. Example, the fertilizing issue. Even his intention is pure. I mean, it is benefiting, and the ultimate benefits goes to the society, the citizens of our country. But the thing is, the system change, what they are seeking is not the system change. They want to change the people who are controlling. In the Aragare, there are so many people. I'm not telling. It started with a few people. It started at the end. People recognize it. It all manufactures for personal gains. It has individual personal gains in that Aragare, and also for the Rajapaksha. Yes, I'm backing up with Rajapaksha. Mahinda Rajapaksha Shintane is where we can see a development in the country. If you see the last 2 decades, especially after the war, there was a massive development in the country. And in 2015, when the good governance came into the power, all these developments stopped. And since 2019, we didn't see any development. Then 2019, we had this Easter bomb issue came, but that not was an effect. But 2020 with the COVID, actually our there was an economic growth fell down. And from 20 to 22, all these, now, when you see about the economic, the development of the country, you don't see a significant development.
So, Amitika, let me interrupt you for a
Yes.
second. You say that the fertilizer, banning of fertilizer was a good idea?
Actually, the benefit is a good idea.
No, I'm asking a very simple question. Are you saying banning of chemical fertilizer was a good idea?
But the thing is, I told when I was telling ban.
Just because, Amindika, the president is a vegetarian
It's-
and he's a vegan, does that allow him
It's not.
to
It's
ban
not. It's not. What
the
we are
importation
eating
of
is
chemical fertilizer to the country?
the thing is what we are eating. Are we eating a healthy food? No, we are not eating healthy
So
foods.
then why
we
then
wanted
why
to
was-
promote
then
the
why
healthy
was-
food?
Yeah, so then why was chemical fertilizer banned on the rubber industry? Tell me, are we eating rubber?
No, it's not the rubber.
Then?
It went on all the aspects
Are
of
we
the
eating
areas.
rubber? Is
No,
there
not,
anyone in the
not,
country,
not the rubber.
human beings
it's
eating
not
rubber?
the rubber. When you
Then why do you ban?
introduce
Then why do you ban chemical fertilizer on rubber?
when we
how is that a
introduce
good
it,
idea?
It's when we introduce to refrain from the chemical fertilizer, it goes into different areas. That's why the mechanism he used was there are issues in the mechanism he adapted. But there should be a proper mechanism to introduce it to it. But the thing is, we accept it because
We accept. So we'll stop at that.
Sure.
We accept it so that we don't have to discuss that any further. Amindika, in your opinion, is there corruption in the Rajapaksa family?
Is there any case that has been proved?
No. I'll get back to that in a minute.
Yes.
But tell me, do you believe? Because
I
you're
don't believe.
supporting-
Why do I
Right.
stand with them? I don't
Don't
believe. I don't
right.
believe so at all.
2 weeks ago, I think. 2 weeks ago, last week I was not there. We had someone from the SLPP and we posed the same question. I'm going to pose the same question to you.
Yeah.
Amidika, if you're a politician in the country who starts off with almost scratch and they don't do any business, they only do politics, how much money do you think he or she can earn in a lifetime? Save in a lifetime?
Only-
Save in a lifetime. I'm not
Only
talking
the
about...
only the politics.
Yeah, only politics. In your opinion, just put a number to that, will you? How much do you think? A human being, a politician who's not engaged in business, how much?
Even in any party, even so-called socialist parties or whatever the party, the liberal
No,
party,
yeah.
I think everyone
How
has a
how
source
much?
of income.
Yeah,
So
how
there
much?
should
How
have been a source of income. It is
How much?
the thing is,
put a number.
we can't put a number on that because it is an individual
Can you earn
talent.
100 million? Can you earn 100
No,
million?
it's there people.
No, I'm asking a
No,
question. Can a politician who starts doing politics since 2004 earn 100 million?
He can be
in 15
inherit.
years?
A person can inherit, and
Inherit.
inheritance are there. Then with his capacity to earn, like
So
this.
I'll come to the point directly.
Yes.
In the bribery commission webpage, Namal Rajapaksa had said, based on the declaration of his assets, that he's earning 3 million a month by giving 200 million rupees as a loan. Now tell me this job that Namal Rajapaksa is doing, because those who are watching the show tonight would want to do the same thing. Because if you can earn 200 million in a
This is the first time-
in a span of 20 years, I would also want to know what he's doing.
This is the first time I'm coming across it, but
You can go to the Briberies and Allegation
no,
Commission
it's,
website. Very easy. It's not,
no,
it's not a big
it is like he's a,
Yes, assets. Yeah.
yes. The thing is, he's an attorney at law, and he's not.
Has he been practicing? Tell me one
He's
day
not
that he
a
has. Tell me
practicing,
one
but
day
he
has
has
gone to courts.
he has his own firm.
Has a firm?
I believe it.
You
Yes.
believe it? You don't know.
Yes, but
So you're
anyway, no.
supporting a
The thing is,
candidate
no. The thing
without
is,
knowing
no.
his
The thing is,
background.
I'm sorry. I will take off my wordings. The thing is, he had his own firm, and he is capable young person who is only just 38. So I think everyone, because solely on politics, like everyone should earn. Everyone should
200
earn.
million?
No, but that is his capacity.
200 million, 20
That
years.
is his
As a
capacity.
young politician.
That is source of income when you can generate and generate. you can generate from income.
We would all want to do that job, Amindika, as it goes on. Thank you very much, Amindika Ratnayaka, representing the Sri Lanka Pujana Peramuna. I now move my attention towards Prashant Divisa, representing the United Centenary Front. Prashant, tell us a little bit about your party, because we are having you on the show for the first time. I want to give you 30 seconds to 1 minute to explain what your party does and a little bit of context to the political party that you're representing.
Thank you, Shamir. Thank you for the opportunity. And the United Centenary Front started our journey about 5 years ago. At that point, many of us lost our hope and faith in the established political parties. We've been watching for a while, hoping there would be some sort of clear change in the political culture. We've been looking at various leaders, and we felt there's been failure upon failure. And I really don't think that the hands that destroyed our past are going to be the hands that build our future. I really believe that every party has blood in their hands. There is not just allegations of corruption, sometimes it's proven issues of violation, and you wait. And eventually, you have to stand up and be the change. And I know it's a long journey, it's a hard journey to take, but many of us took that stand. We created our own political academy. We had over 1,000 young men and women, not just young and old, who want to be part of a new political culture, came to our political academy. We were learning together. But just about a year and a half ago, we decided it was time to now launch off as a political party, and we will begin our campaigns with the general election. We want to contest nationwide. A truly diverse party, a party that seeks to be a new political culture.
Prashant, you said there are political parties in Sri Lanka that has blood in their hands. Can you name a political party like
Of course,
that?
if you look at all the main parties, from various insurrections to involvements with civil wars to violations of human rights to suppressing young people who are violent in a very aggressive manner, every party has blood in their hands, or they have individuals who have been involved in it. We have, some estimates say, in 76 years of independence, we've had nearly 500,000 people die in this country. And the politicians and people who have been leading this country have been directly or indirectly involved for all those situations. And so how much longer can we assume that those very hands can either just say sorry and move on, or they can just say, it was not us, it was them. But those hands, I believe, don't have the capacity to bring about a just and thriving society. So yes, it's the hard way. We wish there was a place that we could lean on and say, okay, we'll go and help them. That will help the country change. We feel we have to take the long journey. We don't come from political families. We don't come from wealth. But I feel we love this country. We're not leaving. We're going to stay and fight. And we believe it's time to start.
Prashant, I've been a journalist for the last 20 years. And Niresh for the last 35 years. Nadeem for the last 20 years as well. I've heard this rhetoric over and over again. In the last 9 years, I've heard this same rhetoric that you are expressing when the Viet Maga was formed. I'm hearing this rhetoric from individuals like representing the NPP as well. Blood in their hands, democracy has to be established, we need change, all that and more. Your party is no different.
Let me tell you how we're different.
It's not different at all.
Yeah. First of all these groups that try to bring about change, they latch themselves upon the existing carcass of a broken structure, an existing party. Because no one thought that it was possible to go the distance by yourself. If it's a Viet Maga, they attach themselves to the Pohotu at the time. Groups that have come now have attached themselves to other parties, and as a result, it's hard because they think they might have dominance. They think they can control. They think they can shut down the corrupt core, and they can run a new engine.
Which political party are you saying about the SLP? I understand.
Yeah.
Are you referring to another political party as well?
Yes, when you look at it,
Who?
For example, Chaturanga is a friend, but when I look at the situation, can they control the inner circle of the JVP? Which ideology is going to win? Who's going to be in control? I would have loved to go and join them and say, okay, let's go start a new culture. But do we really trust the inner circle to not go back to their old ways? I admire the fact that Honorable leader of that party, Honorable Kumar Dissanayake, I think in 2012, he was the first to acknowledge the bloodshed. I think he said 6,000 people were killed by the JVP, and he asked for an apology on BBC Sinhala telecast. And he tried, I could see there was some sincerity in that. But then other members of the inner circle are still talking triumphalistically about that time, saying, yes, we killed, yes, that happened. Recently, at an interview, one of the senior members said that, yeah, we just killed a few rapists and murderers in the village. like some sort of triumphalistic, almost romanticizing that past. And so how do we know they're not in control? So for us, we don't know. Are they in control? We're not. So why would we risk going to parties that have that inner circle?
So based on what you're saying now, Prashant, it's very clear that you won't support the NPP or the SLPP at the presidential election. Which party would the United Central Front support?
So as of now, if we're truly calling ourselves a new emerging party, our executive committee has met and we don't feel we want to endorse any of the candidates. But we have been inviting every major presidential candidate to come for a presidential town hall. And we've shared our 17 demands and challenges to them. And we've had the conversations, we've had open discussions, and then we're going to do an assessment of what the key people are saying on Saturday. And then help our members decide whatever they want. Because it's dangerous, the moment you endorse one candidate, you also almost become a slave now to be beholden to whatever. We want to play the role of a watchdog, keep questioning and challenging, because there's romantic fairy tales of promises being made, and we want to hold them accountable.
When you keep on mentioning about being a watchdog, being the party that would be the difference that would bring to the table, I still get the feeling, Prashant, whether you like it or not, it's like the JVP. It's just like the JVP, because we've seen the man in which in 2015 to 2019, Surin Handunatti playing the role of co-op committee chairman and somewhat doing a good job. It was well seen. We saw what happened during that time as well. But it's the same sentiment and the rhetoric you're expressing, and your political party is no different.
Okay, let me express again how we're different. We have not caused any insurrections. We don't believe
That's because you all are very new.
We will not ever believe in violence or endorse violence. But at the same time, we want to create a new culture where we're not latching ourselves to existing political parties.
Let's
but at the same time, let me tell you a few things that are different.
Prashant, let's keep it aside for a moment.
Yeah.
Right, you said that you all are planning to contest the upcoming general election.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Who's going to be fielded across the country? And how confident are you in terms of getting the number of seats in Parliament to make an impact or a change?
Yes. We've been working on this for 5 years, and we'll be contesting in every polling division across the country. Many of our candidates happen to be younger and under the age of 45 predominantly, but we also are getting quite a few people from an older generation who are saying we need to give this generation a chance, this movement a chance. And we are very impressed with the caliber. We'll see them very soon. All of them have committed to declare their assets publicly every year. We'll be the only political party that shows our campaign finances every quarter. We want to be held accountable, because you can curse the darkness all you want, but you need to walk the talk.
Prashant,
that's what we're trying
where
to do.
would you contest? I'm sure you've already decided
Of
from
course.
which electorate that you would be contesting.
I'll be contesting the Gampaha district, and I'll be leading the delegation for Gampaha.
Prashant, if you look at the Gampaha district, the people who have come out of the Gampaha district have been artists who've made blunders on national TV as well. Did you choose Gampaha district because of that?
I was born and raised in Gampaha, and I don't believe it's right for you to go canvass in a district that you don't live in. That's where I was born, that's where my children grow up, and I'm committed to and I want to see the poverty being eradicated in my community, so I want to serve. Yes, we have appointed various celebrities and so on, but I also believe that there is an intelligent voting population within Gampaha as well, and that they will give a new generation a chance. And that's, I think, the vision that people had when they want a system change. They don't believe people who have been in the system for 40 to 50 years to bring it. Right. They want a new generation to step up, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you very much. Prashant Diviza, representing the United Centre Front. To pose questions from our panelists this evening, on to my immediate right again is Nivesh Lithambi, Consultant Director at Newsfirst. On my immediate left is Nadim Majid. But before all that, we go in for a short commercial break. When we come back, we start the Q&A session with our panelists tonight. Stay connected, stay with Face the Nation. We will be right back.
සිම්පත හරියට ලියාපදිංචි කරගෙන තියෙන්න ඕන. සමහර වෙලාවෙම දන්නෙත් නැහැනේ.
මේ සිම්පත කොයිතරම් වැදගත්ද කියලා මේ දුරකථන පාවිච්චි කරන හැම දෙනාම දන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තමයි මම කියන්නේ.
මැයි වලින් පස්සේ ලොකු ගම් වතුර තත්ත්වයක් එන්න නියමිතයි කියලා. කාලගුණ විද්‍යාඥයින් අනතුරුංග වන පසුබිමක ඔබ කොයි විදිහටද මේ අපේ තෙත්බිම් සම්බන්ධයෙන් දකින්නේ?
කොළඹ නගරයේ තියෙන නාගරික තෙත්බිම් වලින් 21%ක් තියෙන නාගරික තෙත්බිම් වලින් වැසි ජලයෙන් 39%ක් රඳවා ගන්න බව.
දැන් විලත් නගරයේ කටයුතු කරන කට්ටිය දැන් එනවා දේශපාලන නගරයට. ඔතුමේ දන්නවා ඇති අපි ගත්තොත් තරවටුකොට එහෙම නැත්නම් කිඹුලවල ප්‍රදේශයේ අපිට තියෙනවා රැයට කෑම කඩ. ඉස්සර ඒක තිබ්බ කොහෙද? කොළඹ. දැන් ගොඩ දෙනෙක් මේ පැත්තට එන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ට අර පොළ පාට ගතිය, මේ තියෙන බ්‍රීස් එක කියන්නේ ඇඟට දැනෙන වෙනස අනිවාර්යෙන් දැනෙනවා.
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට.
Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. We are in conversation with Attorney at Law Krishmal Varasurya, Chaturanga Singha, Attorney at Law Amintika Ratnayake, as well as Prashant Divisa. Niresh, literally the ball is in your court now.
Thank you, Shamir. My first question is for Chaturanga. Now, Chaturanga, you've heard this question a lot of times. What influence the rest of the NPP has over the JVP? And let me ask you about this in a more specific way. Now, if Anurukumara Disanayake wins, then there would be possibly one option that you mentioned is 4 ministers, that is 3 members of parliament and the president, of whom, of course, we know one would be from the NPP, at least one, that is Dr. Harini.
At least one, yes. We haven't decided.
Yes, so 1 or 2. But your party has said that your extended cabinet after a general election, if you were to win that, would have up to 25 ministers.
Yeah.
How many can we expect in a 25-member cabinet to be from the JVP and from the rest of the NPP? I don't want exact numbers because you haven't decided whether it's 25 or 20, but in proportion, would we see 1/3 from the rest of the NPP?
Firstly, it doesn't matter because there's no JVP and NPP because we have NPP now, right? So JVP is a party who has been working for many years and its members are very clear to the society. And everybody else that you see today is NPP, right? For example, I can name 10 JVP members who's very in the forefront of every district, right? But everybody else you see today, from leading from the engineering side to the technology side to the side from the ex-military and the lawyer side, all are NPP people. That is like individuals who joined this coalition, right? So theoretically, next general election, there will be more NPPers who are getting selected in the parliamentary election as well. So at this point, we don't necessarily select or take decisions people whether you are NPP or JVP because we all agreed for this policy document. And whoever is the minister is going to have a team who supported to do this policy for that particular ministry and will be strengthening that will again with a certain civil experts who will support the minister. So this is where we are different, where traditionally ministers would have kind of taken their own decisions, executed their own powers, where in our system the minister is expected to do a particular target and a goal which supported by the expert panel. So we won't take decisions whether that member is NPP or co-JVP member because we will be looking at the competency of management skills and integrity and ability to communicate and manage people. Those are the greatest skills we would look for a ministerial report. At the same time, we will use very wisely the national list to ensure that the right experts are brought into the parliament. So we will have about close to 10 to 12 opportunity in the next parliament to bring new people.
Chaturanga, that sounds very similar to what the JVP said in 2015. They asked the people to vote, and one of the things that they marketed, as Krishmal will also tell you, was the national list. Former Auditor General, lawyers, doctors, professionals of a very high caliber. But then when they did get enough votes nationally to qualify for 2 national list seats, no one from the list came in. They put in 2 of candidates who were defeated.
Yes, so it depends on that.
How is it different?
No, it's different.
What's the evolution?
So one is that time where the NPP was and the type of the people who was there and the role that was supposed to play. At that time, the party decided Handunetti has the caliber to play that role, right? That is, I mean, I will not go into that level. At the same, there was JVP. And when we formed NPP, similarly, we had one seat in the 2020. And if you take the list, Bimal Ratnayaka was on top. And then we decided to keep the, what is ideal now is to appoint a female candidate and who will represent NPP and build this organization. We appointed Harini. So similarly, it's based on the merit and the strategy of the party that we will decide who will come into that, and also the new next year we will see who's in the list.
Chaturanga, you said that you all have a plan after the 21st of September.
Yeah.
If elected president. Tell me, who's your prime minister going to be?
We haven't decided yet.
So that's going to be decided on the 21st of September.
We will decide between
22nd of September.
Yeah, we will inform what it is. But
so Prashant had a problem. Prashant said there are political parties who have blood in their hands, and then he went on to say that he can't trust political parties which has a history.
Yeah.
And the old clan may do what they are very good at, what they did before.
Okay.
So do you want to respond to that?
No, I will respond to Prashant very directly, because because Prashant can't believe in it, we have a lot of people who have engaged with the JVP over the past 20-30 years, right? So people who are entrusting the NPP now are the people who has been in the society, who has done business, who have made inroads into technology, research, and all those people are part of our co-organization. If at any point Prashant was open to talk with us and be part of our coalition, we would have got into the same culture and we would have given the similar opportunity. So everybody who came in now is part of this ecosystem. So there is no the old clan and the new one, and there is nothing like that in our party, because we work for particular tasks. I am given a particular task, I do it. Lal has been given a particular task in Kandy. He is doing it pretty well. I'm pretty sure we are going to win Kandy. And similarly, so we have a decision-making center, and then there's a strategy, and each of us play particular roles. So there is no possibility for a one individual or a two individual to make something different to what we have said here, because we are collectively responsible.
But Chaturanga, this is not the point that is being expressed only by individuals in the caliber of Prashant. It's a general notion.
It is not a general notion. Now at this point, majority of the business community, entire industries, I have worked with 18 odd industries over the last 1.5 years who produce stuff, who export stuff, and they have pledged the trust on our system, because it's driven on integrity, it's driven on transparency, and that is what people are demanding at this point.
So Chaturanga, just to make us cognizant, tell us, how do you all intend to expand the tax net? What is the plan of the NPP with regard to bringing down the pay tax? Do you all have a plan already?
Yeah, so basically we have mentioned two tax changes. One is reducing the tax on the VAT, which is on the essential goods and services, which has not been removed so far. That is we are going to lose about 65 billion there.
So that's VAT.
VAT, and
which
on
is
the pay,
standing at 18% now.
Yeah, and
so
because originally
what is your position?
So the ones that has not been removed on food processing and also health and education, those three things we will remove it, which we will lose about 65 billion annum. That is the current estimate. And the pay threshold we are going to increase from 100,000, which is to 1.2 million, to a tax-free allowance of 2.4 million. That is 200,000. That also we will lose about 60 billion. So altogether 125 billion.
What's the tax rate?
It will start at 6 and then keep going up.
Going up to what?
Up to 36%.
So, Chaturanga, on this very show, a couple of weeks ago, when I posed the same question to you, you said it's going to be 24%.
Sorry?
You said it's going to be only 24%.
So that is where...
So now it seems to me that you are following on the footsteps of Harsha De Silva, who said initially also it's going to be 24%. Now he's saying it will go up to 36%.
No. Basically, what I said.
Are you copying from the manifesto of
No. I think they are bringing it down to 24%. We are going up to 30%.
No. He's saying that you go up to 36%.
Yeah.
But the minimum threshold will be even those who are earning 1.2 million per annum would be taxed.
Yeah.
At least 1 or 2%.
No, we are not following that. That is inefficient tax system, which is
right. So you're losing approximately around
125
billion. How are you all intending to get this cash back?
Yeah, so there are two aspects. So one is the revenue side, other one is the expense side. So revenue side, we are very clear that the VAT currently we get is we are only getting about 60% of what needs to be collected. So there needs to be expediting process to do that. And on the excise and the customs, and also there's 1.1 trillion disputed tax income. So those things, if we can even save about 10%, there is a big opportunity to cover what we have presented.
So you're saying all this you're doing within a span of 1 year?
Yes.
You can do it?
That is possible. And also
1 year.
And the expenditure.
1 year.
Yes. That is to save 10% of each of these pots, right? And the others, otherwise we should not take power now, because if it's not running like this. And the other side is that the expenditure side, there's 1.7 trillion on the capex budget. We know what capex has been used for all these years, with 30% commission on some, 20% commission on some. And also on the expenditure side, there's enormous leakages at this point and unnecessary expenditure. So there is an expense control also. So both those two together, we have a potential about 500 billion to save from the current 4 trillion expenditure budget.
Shatra, if you don't mind me asking, when talking about this, are you at all concerned about the fact that investors around the world have begun offloading their Sri Lankan bond holdings, as reported by Bloomberg today? Do you find that concerning at all? Or
no,
do you think
it's not concerning for us at all, because it's not something we can't do anything about it, right? So we are presenting people a national growth plan which can lead to about a 6.5% GDP growth by 2030. We are giving a plan that can go.
But are you worried that, because given your expenditure plans as well for the future, are you worried about the ability, whether this will restrict the ability of an NPP government to raise financing?
Not exactly, because we will bring few things which will attract investments and investments for us. Because why investments never came to Sri Lanka is because we didn't had a consistent policy on certain industries, and corruption was at top of the game. And just
your political opponents, however, allege that across the board, your political opponents allege that investments have not been coming into Sri Lanka. One of the reasons was the insurrections by the JVP.
No, not exactly. That is very wrong, right? So since 2010 to now, nothing has come. So from 2020 to now, nothing has come, right? And I just want to correct something. The biggest promise package is not from us. Biggest promise package is from Ranil Wickremesinghe, which is above 500 billion. I can tell how it's going to happen. And SJB, you can explain how much is it, because the benefit Sajith Premadas is talking about on his rallies is going to cross 400 billion. So just that what we need to understand, the audience, NPP has only promised about, NPP has the lowest package on election, and everybody else has a bigger package on the election. So that we would like to hear from
Mr. Surya. I'd actually like to hear your opinion. Do you agree
because
that the SJB's
24% salary increase,
a lot more than what is the SJB giving handouts?
No, Nadeem, I don't agree. But I have also been very forthright in my entire time that I spent in your studios of not going to comment on things that I'm not an expert on. I am not an economist. So I will only refer.
Figure is required.
Yeah, no. I will not point myself to a figure so that.
But I can tell.
No, he can, if he wants to. But I can only refer you to page 18 of Blueprint 3.0, page 18, where we have explained all the questions that you are asking on how we intend to expand the tax threshold, what Shamir was referring to earlier, and leaving it at 100,000 and not take it up to 200,000, but also after a certain threshold of income where we increase it based upon that middle management, middle executive level. I am not going to, as I said, go into figures. I am not going to put myself in quoting figures because, as I said, I am not an economist. I'm a governance and law man. That's my area.
So on the topic of governance and law, if I may, let's switch it up a little bit, because yesterday, another issue that Sri Lanka has constantly been facing is before the Human Rights Council in Geneva, ever since the end of the war, almost immediately after the end of the war.
I'm very sorry. I'm very, very, very sorry. I've been trying to say the last 20 minutes. Shamit didn't let me pose the question. There is a very serious governance issue before the International Court based on what my friend Chaturanga said on this parliament and the cabinet that was touched upon, which is very important to the nation in making this decision. May I be given just a minute to explain what I'm trying to say? I'm very sorry, but I think it's important because the question was posed on this interim cabinet that was going to be appointed. Surely the voter needs to know when they go to the poll as to what government they are going to get. See, we are electing an executive president. That's a funny part of our constitution. We have two different direct elections, directly electing the executive and directly electing the legislature. Now, it's from the directly elected legislature that we form a government. It's a hybrid system. It's not like a Westminster system, where in England we recently had one election, the executive prime minister and the parliament are picked from one election. Sri Lanka, we have two elections. Now, what we are going for on the 21st of September is an executive presidential election. Now, many of the promises given that were referred to now have to be done through a government. Samir's earlier question. Now, we have this question when a president is elected, assuming, I'm not saying that my former friend Andrew is going to be elected, but assuming that he is, on the 22nd, assuming they dissolve parliament, as they say, right? There is going to be at least 56 days for you to run a country.
66 days, yes.
66. Now, you can't run that without a government. Understood? We can't run without a government. Now, they have three options. I'll talk of all three options and I'll say how it's unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional. You may laugh, but ask someone like my learner from Mr. Kumara Perumal. That's why he's silent on the issue. Because this question I posed on another media station and no one has come up with the answer. Number one, you say interim cabinet must run the government until the next parliament is elected, you form a government. Now, Anura on his own, he has said one option is, I do all the ministries on my own. Right? So, he's falling on Article 44 of the Constitution. What does 44.1 say? The President shall, from time to time, in consultation with the Prime Minister, he picks a cabinet. Then there is provision that say, 2, sub-article 2, 44, the President may assign to himself any subject, function, and shall remain in charge of any subject, function or functions not assigned to any other minister. That doesn't mean that the president can hold all the ministries.
So any other minister?
No, let me finish. I'm not permitted to interrupt. No, let me finish. This.
No, but he can interrupt.
So by earlier you didn't let me interrupt. So there are different rules for different people.
No, that's the first round.
Okay,
first
right,
round
so let me finish my argument.
Yes.
Let him interrupt.
No, but he can interrupt.
Let me formulate my argument, please. Huh? Let me formulate my argument.
Yeah, but he can interrupt.
Okay, let him interrupt after I formulate. Half the argument you can interrupt. Okay. No. Yeah. Right. So 44.2 says that the president can only keep that what is not given to anyone else, or he retain. That does not mean otherwise the wording. You know, in constitutional law we go on wording.
Yeah.
Then this would have said the president may assign to himself any or all of the subjects.
Yeah.
This doesn't say any or all. It says any that is not given to another. So that rules completely this one man running the whole cabinet thing. Anyway, it's impractical. Chaturanga, 1 minute. It's impractical for one man to hold all the portfolios. Yes, Chaturanga.
Yeah. So can I add? So then we have 3 members already. So we can give 2 to member and everything else to be run
so
by
8 per person. 8 per person.
No, by Anura.
Yeah. So 8 and 8 and 8. At least 24 you must have, no? Okay. So assuming that, assuming that there are 10
there is no.
But Mr. Surely you're not suggesting that the Constitution restricts the people to electing someone who's from a particular party.
Exactly what I'm saying. Nadeem, whether we like it or not, that's not, whether we like it or not,
run.
No, exactly my point. Whether we like it or not, we have a constitution which governs us. Please
but the Constitution places the people's sovereignty and franchise a forefront.
Sorry, in 2015, why I didn't challenge the nationalists was that whether we like it or not, that's the Constitution. Similarly, whether we like it or not, the constitution does not permit one man or three people to run a government. Then we have to amend the constitution. Now, their party that was for 2 years collecting Facebook pages and I saw a video clip of my friend saying 70,000 people we have collected on social media to do some campaign.
Now
they should have thought about this.
So
they should have thought about this 2 years ago.
Yeah, so Vishwa, let's Chaturang. Chaturang, do you want to?
No, I think, Shamir, the first place is now this presidential election has enough provisions for a new person to get elected and to go for a new parliament, that is after dissolving the parliament, right? So in the interim, there are provisions in the constitution. So we have been very clear, we will not violate the constitution, right? So, and even another party wins, another person who's not in the parliament, they can't, because people's mandate is rejected this parliament. People rejected this parliament during Aragale also. So the sovereignty of the people is when they give a mandate to a party like NPP and Anura, it is not expected to have other rogues and people who are corrupt to run any portfolio for at least 66 days. So that is the mandate people are giving. So we will use that mandate and it will be not unconstitutional. And if Mr. Krishmal says that one Anura can't hold it, yeah, we can give few portfolios to 3 people and hold everything else under Anura, so it will not violate this article.
A small interruption. Now, the third option...
I'm not a law expert,
no,
but I just read from
this is not constitution. Third option that I heard my friend Anura say was that he was going to invite some people from the parliament. That was the third option they have.
Yeah.
So then anyway you're inviting the so-called rogues that you said that that is
so that is our strategy.
So you can't have a duplicity.
No. We will decide.
People must see the duplicity.
So it's like this. We will decide on the day.
I think Mr. People have been seeing duplicity in Sri Lankan politics for a long time. Speaking of duplicity,
I want to hear what Chaturang is saying.
No. This is something rhetoric that you want to bring, that just because that it can't be done, vote Sajid. It's not going to happen this time, right? So anyway, there are enough provisions. So if it's the right thing to do is to have a few people coming and taking portfolios, we will be
okay. I want to ask Amindika. Amindika, what is the stand of the SLPP with regard to increasing salaries of state sector employees?
Yes, actually, when you look into the manifesto, Nama's vision, it is an integrated manifesto. That means we are not touching a single institution or single factors. We look like everything is integrated. So we talk about the state priorities, we talk about the innovatives, and for the innovatives we need the investments, and with all this we are talking about the freedoms also. To your question about the salary increase.
Are you trying to say, Amindika, that there was freedom of expression, there was democracy between 2005 and 2015?
We have.
The Mahinda Rajapaksa administration.
Yes, we had.
I disagree.
Tell me, that's why we had so allegations, but people were
Is that why people in the caliber of Lasandra Vikramatunga was murdered?
No. Are there any convictions on that? Where is there a conviction, as Mr. Krishma, my friend Krishma said?
Let me phrase it for you this way.
Yeah.
Because convictions seem to be a very rare thing in Sri Lanka anyway. So let me frame it to you this way. A government's primary responsibility is to ensure the safety of its citizens.
Yes, exactly.
If during the time of your administration, if journalists are disappearing, if journalists are being murdered, does that mean that the government has failed in its responsibility to ensure the safety of its citizens?
Someone is being killed.
So have you failed in your responsibility to ensure the safety of these citizens?
No, the thing is, now how long have you been accused?
Since 2009.
2009. How many years
just because there is no conviction?
No, 2015 good governance was in the power. Why the good governance cannot bring the people who are responsible? 2015 the good governance was in the power, but for 4 years they was in the power. There was no one convicted. There was no people convicted.
Failure.
So it's an all-round failure.
May I put in a question, please, to
Yeah.
Amindika,
Yes.
I'm sorry, my learned friend. I don't know whether you were in practice at the time, but Shamir and Nadim and them know. We've been in the studio. I've appeared for a case of a man called Iknaligoda, who just went out of his house and never came back. We did a walk when Lasantha died. Your leader and I walked hand in hand during that time. We have come here when your present leader, Yang Thomi and Namal's father, wanted to run a third term. And we went around, that was the start of the coalition of the JVP. We went under a banner called Mahinda Tungwarak Bag, if you remember, Shamil. And that was the time that we took a coffin up on Halstorff Hill, 18th Amendment written on it, and we burnt it. So there was a time, I'm sorry to disappoint you, perhaps you were not in practice then, there was a time that a Chief Justice of our country was touched. A Chief Justice and 7 parliamentarians, some of whom haven't been past grade 8, wanted to sit in judgment. You remember, Shami, till night they sat. They wanted to judge the Chief Justice when we went out and said, you can't do this. When Mr. Wickramasinghe also said, no, Parliament can judge.
Amindika, do you remember all this?
No, I do clearly remember. I do really remember. The thing is, there are ha-hos in everywhere, okay? But the thing is, each, and this is media campaign, I would say, they will come. Because I'm a lawyer, I go to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. What they do is they file a rate application or a file application during the election time. But during the election time, they give a campaign on this particular case. Okay, there is a corruption, there are so and so and so. There's so many campaigns. Let me finish. Then what happened is, once the election is done, within 2 or 3 months, they withdraw the case. Why do they withdraw the case?
Amindika, now there is a Supreme Court determination that 5 individuals are responsible for the mismanagement of the country's economy.
Yeah.
Out of that 5 people, 3 are from the Rajapaksa family. Do you know? I'm asking you, do you know these 3 people?
What?
Do you know
yes,
who these 3 people are? Basil Rajapaksa?
They have been named as, they have named it as the respondents,
right,
yes.
Basil Rajapaksa, Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Mahinda Rajapaksa. Why do you all think that you all can manage the economy now under Namal Rajapaksa?
Okay, can I face this?
Because you're talking about Mahinda Rajapaksa and all that.
Yes.
If you did not mention about Mahinda Rajapaksa, I wouldn't have made a parallel to this. But because you are mentioning,
the thing is, whatever.
No, who's going to rule? Is it going to be Mahinda Rajapaksa who's going to rule?
No, it's not going to be.
Basil Rajapaksa or Gotabaya Rajapaksa?
We are going to have. We are going to have a Namal Rajapaksa's vision. We are going to implement Namal Rajapaksa's vision.
Namal Rajapaksa who has given 200 million rupees as a loan to obtain 3 million rupees a month.
No, sorry, that is what you said. That is
Namal says he's going to continue Mahinda Chintane.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm. That's
vision.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm going to come. On we have Mahinda Chintane. SLPP is surrounded by the Mahinda Chintane. We support Mahinda Chintane. But now the thing is,
that means it's not Namal's vision.
No, Namal's vision is it's developed vision.
No, I don't understand.
It's a developed vision.
How is it developed?
So it's not an original vision.
It's not the original. It has the original. It has the original. It has the original Mahinda Rajapaksa's Chintane, and it is a continuation. And with that, it meets the needs of the new generation.
I mean, how many votes do you think Namal Rajapaksa will get at this election?
Yeah, we will get a pretty good voting.
How much? How much?
I don't have to say in numbers, but you can wait on till
on the
21st of September. You can see.
So you all have already accepted defeat.
No, we have not defeated.
So if you're not defeated, you should say that your candidate would get 7 million votes plus 1.
I won't say the numbers, but let's wait on 21st of September and let's see.
4th or 5th? 4th or 5th?
21st, sorry, 22nd of September, and let's wait.
Will Venerable Bhattamudi Siriratna Thera take more votes than Namal Rajapaksa?
I don't believe. Namal Rajapaksa, he is very confident on this.
How many
elections.
votes? How many votes? 2 weeks before the elections, you all don't know how many votes you all will get.
We will secure more than 60%.
10 days to go.
Right.
More than 60% we will secure.
Prashant, just
more
to understand.
60% of the vote.
Prashant, so to understand, your political party seems to be the only political party that is ready to face a general election. Am I right, Prashant?
He can join with us.
No, thank you.
But invitations open to you before you stay too long in the JVP. But what I really want to say is, like, you can see the political culture here. There's a lack of responsibility for failures of the past. There's a lack of acknowledgement of the failures of the past. Apologies, honest apologies, that you have failed the people. You have violated their trust. You have played with their lives. And today our country is bankrupt. And no one who's been a career politician for 5 years, 10 years, all their candidates have been career politicians for at least 25 years, can say they're not responsible. But they all say, now let me come, this time I'm different, I will give you a vision and that's going to work. Why should we trust you? Everybody has flip-flopped on every issue multiple times. If you look at the manifestos of some of these parties now and their manifestos from 15 years ago, they wouldn't recognize.
So, Prashant, if you look back, if you rewind, just one question. If you rewind to 2015, Prashant, we saw the manner in which how Maithripala Sirisena was elected to power. He said there will be good governance, but between 2015 and 2019, there was a lot of corruption as well. And the very infamous 52-day government as well that we saw. Then Gotabaya Rajapaksa came to the limelight saying that there needs to be security, the nationalistic rhetoric was brought to the forefront yet again, and people voted him in. And 2 years later, we saw what a disaster that was. And you are saying today, on this very show, Prashant, that you all are different, that you all are going to be the change that people envision for the future. They wouldn't believe you.
I understand how people have been traumatized by the lies and the manipulations of the career politician, but I don't believe that's reason to give up and walk away. You can curse the darkness or you can try something new.
Right.
There's
Let's talk about politics.
Specifically, there's another party that I know the UCF didn't come out of the Aragal, but many members of the UCF were active during the Aragal at Golfes as well. There's another party, the Jana Aragala Sandhana, which Nuwan Bopage is running as presidential candidate from. So these two parties are now positioning themselves as new alternatives to the political culture. Could you tell us what's the difference between the Jana Aragala Sandhana and the Siyavas Peramuna?
Thank you. So I believe we're very encouraged by the fact that more have the courage to start from scratch. Because I really believe if you want to truly see system change, it has to be a brand new re-entrance to the political culture. I congratulate them for their efforts. I've met with the Turney Board
But
Brigade.
they have also elements of the Frontline Socialist Party, which is not really old, right? Breakaway of the JVP.
Exactly, yeah. So they're trying, so we've interviewed him at the presidential town hall, and we do disagree on some fundamental issues. They have a very far left agenda, and the way that they operate, especially on some of their values, on the economy, will not align with us. We are more center-right as a political party. But we do encourage new movements to begin. Don't be beholden and slaves to the establishment because you think that you can't defeat them.
When you say center-right, when you look at the manifestos of the main, let's say the main contenders, most of whom are here, or whose representatives are here, you've seen their manifestos, you studied it. As you mentioned, on behalf of the UCF, you interviewed all of them, maybe with the exception of Mr. Anurukumar Dissanayake. When you look at their manifestos, you say that y'all are more center-right or centrist. When you look at the legislative agenda that they're setting forth for the next year or the next parliamentary term, let's say that you do win maybe a seat or two or more, depending on what your target is. You win those seats. Do you see any space for collaboration on any of these manifestos pushing your legislation, and which party would you then are you more in alignment with?
Yeah, so we have been in conversation and we're looking at all the manifestos. There are a lot of amazing ideas and suggestions being made by all the manifestos, but we know manifestos have just been like a part of an apparel that's never really implemented more often than not. But if we see true conviction for values that align with ours and we have representatives in parliament, we will support
those. So you've studied the manifestos of, let's say, the SLPP, or the Mahinda Chintana, the Ape Dakma, right? Or okay, basically the SJB, NPP, SLPP and the UNP, and also the Sarvajana Balaya, Mr. Dilip Chavira, and I'm not sure if Vijay Das has put out a manifesto yet, but you've had a chance to study all of these, right? Having studied it, which one aligns most with your, as you described it, center-right thinking?
Yeah, even as we speak right now, there's a live conversation happening with our economics team on social media, discussing the comparisons of the various economic policies and where we are for, what we are for and what we are against, and what we see there is not enough clarity.
So what are you all for? So just to understand,
which, what I'm asking is which manifesto aligns most with your vision?
As of now, when we've read through the SJB's manifesto, we are impressed with the fact of the Blueprint 3.0 gives some clarity on the action plan. It's not just the aspiration, but the action plan of what could be done. That's impressive, but now we need to see whether they will implement that action plan. But there's something to hold them accountable to. There are many amazing things said in the NPP's manifesto. But the thing that's sometimes challenging for us, and we wish we had an opportunity to speak to AKD.
You're saying that's more aspirational than actual.
There's a lot of aspirational content, but we want to see it. I'm talking about the deficit that we just discussed. Once the income that this government will gain.
In terms of policy, tell me, what do you think reigns supreme at this moment of time in Sri Lanka?
In regards to issues of prominence?
Issues of prominence.
Yeah. So for us, there are 4 issues, and in no particular order. One is obviously the economy and transforming the economy and establishing a sustainable. We're overcoming the budget deficit, overcoming the trade deficit, overcoming the debt issues. We have to have a better strategy for it, and that's number one in many people's books. For me, the second one is an inclusive Sri Lankan identity where there's justice for all, there's equality, that no one feels like a second-class citizen. And that's, I think, something that most of the manifestos don't address deeply.
So this actually brings me to the question I wanted to ask Krishmal at the beginning.
And the third one for me...
We've addressed that.
There's mentioning of it, but I feel we have to go deeper into that.
It goes beyond mentioning.
Yeah, so
the third issue for me is true educational transformation. We have not modernized, we have not engaged in that. And finally, fourth one is true governance and transparency. We'd really like to see every party commit to a declaration of assets of every candidate and every nominee every year. So we want to see campaign finance reforms. Campaign finance reforms is very important to us. Even now, millions are being spent. And we wouldn't know who's funding these campaigns until 20-something days after the election. And by then somebody's president and we don't even know if we can hold them accountable.
You can. Under the new act, you can. So Prashant, you talk about the country's economy. Now, the 4 aspects that you mentioned are buzzwords right now. You speak about transparency, you speak about good governance, you speak about transformation of education, then you speak about the economy. Now tell me your plan with regard to the country's economy, because I believe you are the leader of the United Century Front.
The president of the party.
Okay. Yeah. So you are the president. What is the vision you have in terms of the country's economy? Break it down to us. Tell me about taxation policy. Tell me about how you're going to go about with regard to pay taxes. How are you going to collect money, revenue, all that and more.
Yeah.
Break it down for us so we understand whether you all are a serious party or not.
Yeah. First of all, we have libertarian tendencies as a party. And when we talk about that, it's about reducing government spending. And at right now, I think government workforce is at 1.5 million. We're spending nearly 900 billion on the government sector. For a country of our size, we don't think that's the kind of investment we need to be making. The inefficiency, the corruption, the political appointments. I believe
what do you intend to do?
So first of all, we need to downsize government spending. We need to come against corruption and wastage within the government.
So when you say cut down government spending, does that mean the 1.3 million public sector workers would have to go home?
So when Mahinda Rajapaksa came into power in 2005, we had 600,000 working in the public sector. Today we have 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Many of them are largely political appointments as a favor for their support during the elections.
So what are you going to do with that excess?
First of all, we have to realize that we can create new opportunities and new industries in a transition period, especially for those who are political appointees, those who have been inefficient, those who have been raking the system, have to be identified. You have to unclog the system. Government can't continue to spend this much. It's also in some of the IMF requirements that we cannot continue to spend on government. At the same time, military. After so many years after the war, over a decade, we're still spending, maybe more than we did at that time, 540 billion on military spending. So when these things have to be removed.
Right. So Krishmal, now Prashant is of the opinion that government spending has to come down. But if you look at the manifesto of the SJB, they speak about a 24% increment for state sector workers. Is this practical?
Yeah, it's practical, Shamir, when you look at the overall strategy of what they've intended to do. The 24% increase comes from, you must look at the other aspects of the policy which speaks of modernizing collection of revenue, mainly through digitalization and the process of digitalization where you cut down the avenues for the wastage and corruption. Number 2, the robust mechanism that we are proposing on that very aspect of transparency and corruption, Shamir, which is an independent public prosecutor, not even beyond the present Attorney General, which we feel at one time, remember, President brought the Attorney General under his own cabinet portfolio by a gazette. So we are speaking of a public prosecutor that goes after particular instances. The question that Prashant raised. Number 3, the increases in what we spend on the government, Shamir, is also attached to, if you look at the rest of our manifesto, key performance indicators coming in, targets being given to public servants. And if they don't perform, as Prashant said, if no one is performing, we are not going to continue holding on baggage if no one is performing. So the entire structure is going to be changed.
So Krishmal, Sajid Premadasa was holding a key cabinet portfolio between 2015 and 2019. Harsha De Silva was a state minister. Eran Vikramaratne was a state minister. Harsha De Silva was a deputy minister. Kabir Hashim was a cabinet minister at that time. So we're talking about key players who are driving the Kirial. They are the driving force. They are the driving force of the SJB agenda. No, we'll come back to you. Don't worry, Chaturanga. I'm not done yet with my question. Don't interrupt. So my question is, they didn't do anything between 2015 and 2019. What makes you think that they will do a change? They will bring that change that the people envisaged in 2022 to the table. Will they implement?
Yeah, very simple answer. Some of the people that you said were not members of a cabinet. They were state ministers and they were outside of the cabinet.
Yeah, so Lakshman Kirialla was the cabinet minister.
Mr. Kirialla and
GLP
someone else that you mentioned, they were cabinet ministers. But Shamir, you must also look at that system of governance. That is why I started your program by saying, you asked me what difference I saw in Sajid to the rest. The system of governance that they all ran under. A very autocratic Ranil Wickremesinghe who would not let anyone say hum. A very autocratic Mahinda Rajapaksa who, when Professor GLP, as Chaturanga mentioned earlier, during the impeachment was going and saying that this is wrong, did not listen. So you have, unfortunately, Shamir, we have been having up to now very autocratic leaders who held the party line very strongly, and therefore there was not much that anyone, even in the cabinet, could do to go beyond that. However, that's the difference that I see in a future president, in who I believe, the 9th Executive President Sajid Premadasa. Permit me to finish, please. Because if you work as a team, Sajid continues to speak as a team. Ranil Wickremesinghe never spoke as a team. If you remember, that's why they broke away from Ranil and came with Mahinda Rajapaksa.
So, Krishmal, in 2022, one of the allegations leveled by Ranil Wickremesinghe is the fact that Sajid Premadasa ran like in the Olympics when he was offered the job of the Prime Minister, and then he had to accept it. But if you look at the history of Sajid Premadasa, he has done this many a times. When the 52-day government came into power, Maithripala Sirisena said that he offered the job of Prime Minister.
Maithripala said yes?
No, Sajid said no.
No, did Sajid ever admit that?
No, but Maithripala Sirisena was president.
Maithripala Sirisena is a man who has been just asked to pay 100 million because he didn't know whether he was sitting or standing. What an argument.
But Sajid Premadasa also accepted. Sajid Premadasa also accepted that he was offered the job of Prime Minister.
I have never heard Sajid accepting it. If you can point to where on the record he accepted it, I'll take your word for it. I don't want to doubt you. However, as regards Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Sajid was very clear. In fact, we had that boy.
But he has shied away from responsibility over and over again.
No, that's a wrong assumption. I really hope that although you're regurging this, that the people who are listening to at home will look at this pragmatically. Sajid has very clearly said, I was not going to be part of a government under a Gotabaya Rajapaksa tenure when he had been asked to go away by the people. People said, Gota, go home. When people are saying Gota, go home, Sajid is not going to go and say, okay, Gota, now stay, I will work with you.
Do you remember? Do you remember?
You have to look at it in perspective. Sajid said, you give us the reigning power and we'll take it.
But Krishmal, do you remember the tweet that was made by Harsha De Silva after meeting the central bank governor, the treasury secretary, with regard to the country's economy. When Gotabaya Rajapaksa asked Sajid Premdasu to take over the post of president, Prime Minister, so the tweet said the country's economy is in a very dire strait.
We all accept that. I mean, Harsha didn't have to tweet it. We all did. Even I tweeted.
So don't you think...
I still tweet that.
So don't you think that Ranil Wickremesinghe has done a good job?
Really? Seriously? The one running around in the gas tank? I'm embarrassed. That man was my former party leader in 2020. Seriously, to take the elephant away from Sirikota, put a gas tank there? Seriously, Shami, I'm not proud of him at all. I seriously think, with all due respect to my former leader, that he has, although he is saying that Sajid has not learned from Royal College, he has not learned his lesson, discade, learn or depart. Yesterday I saw him wearing a hat somewhere. So I think he has really seriously lost something somewhere.
Chaturanga, now Prashant initially said about the way in which how the JVP may try to reign supreme in terms of NPP government come 21st September elections. I want to drag your attention to a statement that was made by Lal Kanta, because you are very vocal about how much Lal Kanta is doing for our party. You said even Kandy district he will emerge victorious. Am I right, Chaturanga? Right. Okay. So he said on the 1st of May, the May day rally, I don't know whether you remember.
Yes, I was there
right. So then I will remind you once again, so it's easier for people to understand what he said. We will provide the power to create a mechanism for your village to formulate laws. We will provide your village with the power to enforce these laws or judicial powers. What does this mean?
So this was basically bringing down, delegating power to the lowest level, right? The words that he used, whether it was technically correct or not, is something that got debated over a period of time. The whole story is about now even in the ground.
Is that the position of the NPP?
We are in the position in the next constitution, we need to pass a lot of powers down to the ground because even for the
formulate laws, Chaturanga,
not to make laws, not to make laws. What I'm trying to say is people making part of the decisions, right? So ensure that.
Why do you want to have a parliament?
May I interrupt for 30 seconds? Yeah. Sorry. Article 4C of our constitution very clearly says judicial decisions can only be taken by an institution exercising the people's judicial power. No one else. So anyone who thinks they can sit in a committee in a village and take judicial decisions, you can't do that.
Judicial decisions, it's basically... No, he used the word. So that's what it was corrected, right? Probably.
You all are making statements and then correcting it.
Yeah.
So even after 21st September.
No, that is why I said whether the word was technically right, the intention is to provide, allow people in the ground to be part of the decision.
But I don't think he corrected himself. The party leader corrected him. But he never corrected
himself. Also, this has a more socialist ramification. If you give me a minute, I'll
he has said that over and over again, and that's a very dangerous reality because ultra Marxist Leninist constitutions allow that.
Exactly. That's
what
I'm
coming. The village decide who is guilty.
Exactly.
No, that is not. That is not possible. That is not possible.
Jitters would go down the spine of anyone who's listening to you now.
No, it's
not a mistake.
It is not a mistake. What he said was corrected by the party, and the policy is very clear.
He can correct it too, right?
Yeah, he can correct it too.
Why has he not corrected it?
So. What I'm trying to say is, what the statement that was made was cleared by the party, what was intended and what was said, right? And what is the party's position? That's very clearly said.
No, what is it? What is it?
What?
What is the position of the party?
The position of the party is that we need to provide more access to legal actions to the people, because now people have to come to the district court and all that. There is a lot of problems in getting legal stuff done. So we need to pass that power close to the people.
You mean mediation? Mediation
there. No, not outside the process. Even today there's what you call Samatha Mandale, right? And there are certain processes that are
mediation boards. That's
mediation
boards, judicial function.
Right? And then strengthening those things and also allowing people to be part of taking decisions of the urban councils and these things. So that is where we want to bring the new constitution, where more and more power is given to people. But I will say very clearly, no judiciary powers will be given to people to verdict who's wrong or who's right. It's more about administrative and governing or taking decisions for the village is what we were talking about. That is clear.
With respect to my young friend, I don't think that Chaturanga, that was what Lal was meaning. As I said, 2015, I met Lal. Lal has come home. Lal was talking of the old socialist regime. That is socialism, Shami. China I said earlier. You know what earlier you remember I said presumption of innocence. We all believe in our system that one is presumed innocent. China does not have the same level of presumptions. In China, you got to prove that you are not guilty. So the presumption, the burden shifts on to you to come and show that you are not guilty. This was what Lal was meaning, because in China, the Politburo or the committees, the socialist committees, have an overarching power even over the judicial system. They are the ones who decide who to prosecute. They are the ones who even tell the judges, okay, this man can go free. There's a lovely movie. I forget the name. I
so
know
it
nothing
doesn't
when
matter.
you've seen that.
It doesn't matter because
where the judges are influenced
we
by
have
the committee.
agreed for a policy, and that is the entire party's policy. And you can't take a single statement of a person and kind of try to interpret in a Chinese way or this way. We have been for the democracy. We have been very clearly here for the democracy, and the party will take collective actions and collective.
So on the subject of justice, if I may.
Can we listen to Prashant?
I believe we're talking a lot about the floating voters and people who have still not made a decision. And even for our party, it was one of the reasons we wanted to speak to your leader as well, because these statements are made, but the person who makes it never takes it back. The leader comes and then, in his beautiful oratory skills, he refines it to make it palatable to the people. Especially when it comes to senior leaders like Lanka, when they say things, and they have a history of being a Leninist Marxist party. And then you say things like this. We go to these countries like China, we go to situations that have that kind of regimes, and there is a fear that's caused in the hearts of people. Then you also have a history of
violence. Course, so there is fear that's been created, there's fears that people can feel, but also we are a very tangible, touchable party where everybody can be part of this organization, and we have been part of it.
We fear is that the party might touch the people, in the sense of we have
what I'm trying to say is, now if you don't trust it, it's up to you. You have the democratic right to not to vote for NPP or not to do that. But
I believe you don't believe in that either, right? The party doesn't believe in it. So what are the consequences for people who continue to promote this kind of ideology?
No, they don't promote it. They never
corrected himself.
So Chaturanga, who is going to be your Minister of Finance? Have you decided that?
No.
Srin Hadunethi's role?
We haven't decided any role for anyone.
Chaturanga, out of a 25-member cabinet, presumably, how many would be women? Because your party has trumped up a lot about women's rights and pushed a lot of...
Number one is that we would give enough candidacy in the general election.
Nominations.
What is enough? What do you mean enough?
Is that
so, I mean, obviously close to 50%, as much as we have the right candidates, right? Because not only our party, every party struggles with getting females to do politics because of our cultural and structure that we have. We will allow that to happen because you need to have the amount of caliber. I mean, you need to come to this state and face Shavir also, try to know everything.
But
what I'm trying to say is we will give enough positions not to restrict female, but whoever is available in each district.
Srin Hadunethi called Elon Musk an economic hitman. So it's very easy for you all to make statements and then retract them or apologize. But that's not what the people expect from individuals who are going to take leadership in this country.
He will miss our apparel industry.
So I think, no, what I'm trying to say is there are people, the words and the things that they say, there are mistakes, but people are now going to choose over rogues and robbers and corrupt people.
But that shouldn't be the case at this election.
This
people
election
have to vote in.
No, this election is very much about whether you are voting policy. The policy and the state.
But where is the policy?
The policy. What is the policy of Elon Musk? It's his view, right? He just said it and he corrected himself next day itself, right? So these are things when
So are you trying to tell me that Srin Hadunethi doesn't know Elon Musk?
Not doesn't know. He said that the way that he articulated that into two other names he mentioned was wrong, and that he will take back that statement. So that is what he can do.
He said,
So what I'm trying to say is that is language. So the people. What I'm trying to say is, can I finish this? So people in our party has made statements over many years, right? So Sunil Hadunethi has made enough conviction in people how much he can deliver in a parliamentary setup. So I think people will respect that, not only going by a word, because you have thousands of rogues and corrupt people in the other two camps to choose from. So obviously we are okay with that.
Amindika, I'll start with you on this thing. Yesterday, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said that any new government that comes in Sri Lanka must be committed to enacting transformational reforms in terms of constitution, in terms of repealing certain regressive laws that were passed recently as well, in order to hold with our human rights obligations. What is Mr. Namal Rajapaksa's stand when it comes to issues of transitional justice and accountability?
Yes, we highly recognize the freedoms, as you say, for the human rights. So we have that in our in our manifesto, and he clearly says that we are going to abide with it. We are going to
abide to the UN.
Not the UN, not the UN's actually. Not the UN's. The human rights, whatever, because our constitution has a good protections. It actually ensures the fundamental rights.
But you are answering Nadim's question.
What is his stand on issues surrounding transitional justice and accountability?
Transitional. The thing is, we as you say, we our main focus is we will not. Can you rephrase the question?
Okay, let me put it this way, because yes. I was going to pose it this way to Mr. Varnasurya as well anyway, given his leader's very open stance on it. Namal Rajapaksa recently, with regard to incidents happening in Gaza, had said that the loss of civilian life is unacceptable, that these things can't go on. If he were to become president, would he apply the same brush to incidents in Sri Lanka?
I don't think so. It's nothing so in the
Isn't that quite duplicitous?
No.
So, Mr. Varnasurya, I'll come to you. I'll come to you now.
It's very important question. Like, if Namal Rajapaksa is running for office, he needs to have an answer for this, in the sense that he can't just be in the manifesto. He needs to go talk to the people in the North and East, talk to the Mulivaika people and say, what is your stance on human rights? Are you going to make the same mistakes that were made from your father's regime, or are you going to stand for justice?
So, Chaturanga, I'll pose this question to you as well, because back in 2011, while he was still the parliamentary group leader for the Democratic National Alliance at the time, Anukumara Dissanayake said that it was a mistake to back Mahinda Rajapaksa during the war, and it was a mistake to also include, to then back Sarath Fonseca. This is reported in BBC Sinhala Service as well. This was shortly before he apologized again on the BBC Sinhala Service for the atrocities committed in the 80s. What will be your position? Because this issue is not going to go away at the Human Rights Council. I think come next March, we will again be facing, there will be the Universal Periodic Review that will happen. It's not going to go away. What will be your approach as a government? Because I know because of the domestic crisis, we haven't really had a chance to talk about foreign policy. What will be your approach to
So basically, the problems that highlighted during that time, the government, successive governments has not taken any action, positive action to build trust and also to reconcile this problem. So therefore, that is why NPP is very keen to go back to the place where in terms of looking at it, and also.
But given the very pro-war stance that many key members, who are pretty much the entire Politburo of the JVP currently took at that time, would you be able to build any kind of trust with the people in the North and East?
Yes, we have been doing it so far. So what we have, because our philosophy of this conflict and all this boils down to economic democracy. So we have been very clearly talking to the North and the East, talking about why these problems occurred, who created these problems, and what happened during the wars, and all that are incidents like 89 to all these things that happened during the war. And you need to heal the hearts of the people and win trust of the people, but successive governments from 2010 to 19 or 24 has not been able to do. So that is where we would really keen.
As for transitional justice, where do you stand on?
Sorry?
as for transitional justice, whether there will be accountability, what form will accountability take? Will it take the form that the Human Rights Council or the Human Rights High Commissioner for Human Rights is asking for, which involves hybrid courts, judges, maybe even prosecutors internationally? Will it involve a domestic mechanism? What will it? What form will it take? Is what I'm asking.
I don't
Do you
have
support
a direct answer for that.
Okay.
May I also?
So may I, Mr. Varun, I'll place the same question to you, but I want to rephrase it a little bit. Sajid Premadasa has been very vocal.
I was waiting to answer that question.
Yeah, he has been very vocal. In fact, in Parliament, he likened the actions of the Israeli state to, he said it was comparable to those of Nazi Germany. He has turned up at protests, protesting against what's happening in Gaza. Same question for you, because when you look at the people surrounding Sajid Premadasa, if you take Mr. Tampika Ranawaka, for example, as well, who has pledged his support, they don't necessarily echo the same sentiments. So when it comes to human rights, is it a Sajid Premadasa policy? Is he alone in that? Or is it an SJB policy?
No, I can unequivocally state that it is a policy of the Sandan. Whether it's our friends Partly, or whether it's our friend Sumandiran, or whether it's our friend Mr. Hakim, everyone will have to abide by this policy. I direct you to page 33 for avoidance of time wastage. Everything from reconciliation to the missing persons office, reparations for losses, then I'm translating off my head very quickly. Displaced people. Then even on release of land that is not required for defense purposes. Everything has been set out, Nadim. It's in our policy statement, and we stand by this. Sajid, I know, is very sincere in transitional justice, and that we must reach a conclusion. Now, the modality of it, Nadim, is not set out in our policy document. We have discussed this at length. This is, in fact, one of the areas: law, justice, foreign policy, some of the things that I've been discussing.
So one of Mr. Premadas's early backers,
Truth and Reconciliation Commission like South Africa, or it may take some other form. We don't know the modality yet.
But
go on.
One of Mr. Premadas's, in the formation of the SJB, one of his early backers was the late Foreign Minister, Mr. Mangala Samaraveera.
Absolutely.
And he was a staunch supporter of the idea of having hybrid courts. In fact, he put this forward in the resolution which they co-sponsored at the Human Rights Council. Does Mr. Premadasa still hold with that belief of
he
his
may
former
have had that
ally?
discussion with Mr. Samaraveera. Unfortunately, Mr. Samaraveera is not with us anymore. However, what we have said in our policy document is, until we amend the constitution, Nadeem, we can only go within the four corners of our present constitution. Our present constitution does not recognize, as I was telling Chaturanga earlier, any judicial authority beyond Article 4C. That rules out hybrid courts. If you all remember, a few years ago, Sumandiran, myself and Dr. Jayampati were asked to comment on this publicly, and we gave that statement. Our present constitution doesn't permit it. So we will only have to do what the constitution permits for the moment. However, that does not mean nothing. Now, even now, without a constitutional change, some hearings, if you remember Shani Bandar Naik hearing, some of you may remember, we had observers from Commonwealth nations coming and sitting in our courts, observing what was happening.
What was happening in Sri Lanka?
Yeah. So that can happen.
So Chaturanga, Prashant, just a minute. Chaturanga, I was surprised by your answer to Nadeem. You all have a 233-page document, and the North and East is going to be a crucial vote at the upcoming elections. And you did not have an answer for that.
No, I didn't answer the modality of it because I am not a legal expert how these courts and all these things works. But for the in terms of the North and East issue, and then the rights of the people in terms of the land, the things that has happened to them over these years, and allowing them to work in their own language, those are being covered entirely in the policy, especially the last policy on the national Vishwiya Purvasiya and Lankiya Jatiya, that is the area. So what I'm trying to say is, we have looked at this problem in a different aspect in resolving it forever. But in terms of the specific one you asked on the UN resolution and whether we are going to implement it in the exact way, I said I'm not a legal expert.
So it's true that you all don't have a policy on this.
Why?
It's true.
On what? The UN resolution?
Yes.
we haven't, the modality of that is not been articulated.
Sure.
I don't think we can mess around with this issue for any longer. People who experience injustice and whose lives were devastated, whether it was the end of the Civil War or during the insurrections, we cannot continue to kick the can down the road and say we'll figure it out. People want justice. They want truth. And they want these mechanisms to be in place. And also...
Which mechanism?
They want to see transitional justice mechanisms in place, saying that there will be justice.
So that's what I'm saying. So every policy says it has to be as justice. But the modality, whether we are going to use exactly what is said in the UN is not what's been mentioned. That's what I said.
There has to be clarity on this. And even for the SJB policy on this, I wish it had been clear to say this is an issue that has been going on since 2009. So more clarity on what the modality is. We need to see reparations. Is there going to be a proper... but how is that going to be implemented? What about human rights violations?
So if I can ask you now, we're talking about this issue, and usually when it comes to especially presidential election time, the main parties become very interested in like the 13th Amendment, for example. Namal Rajapaksa said very clearly that he's not going to implement it. Is this a prudent approach to building social cohesion?
The thing is, why did we need the 13th Amendment? Why did the 13th Amendment come into place? That is because there was a civil war. Everyone knows that. Now there is no civil war at all. Now, okay, let's just leave. But whatever the Namal Rajapaksa as a president candidate, he doesn't want to give any false promises. Our party, the SLPP, stands that we are not going to support the 13th Amendment. That is a clear stand where we are standing.
But President Mahinda Rajapaksa has supported it in the past.
No, the thing is
we come back in the last round.
Yes.
We need to wrap up. Yes. Chaturanga, 6 months from now, you will face once again these issues at the UN Human Rights Council sessions in March. And you telling us today on this show that you all don't have a policy on this is very, very alarming.
No, I think it's not on the policy. So we have clearly mentioned for the people who has got affected, we will take necessary steps to find justice, right? So, but what you are trying to say is we don't have a policy. It's in the policy where we wouldn't say what is the modality of it is not what you mentioned here.
Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen and the lady, for your thoughts in the first and second round. We need to go for a short commercial break. We are in conversation with Attorney Advocate Krishmal Varasurya, Chaturanga Abhisingha and Amindika Ratnayaka along with Prashant Viza. We're going for a short commercial break. Stay connected, stay with Face the Nation. We will be right back.
The voice of the nation determines its future through every choice, with every vote.
Newsfirst.
Bringing you the latest updates, first and fast, with the truth at its core and real-time data.
Catch every detail with expert analysis, answer to your questions and the unexpected uncovered.
Stay ahead of the curve with the latest technology, one update at a time throughout the day.
Feel the pulse of the election.
On your screens. Stay connected and informed.
With Newsfirst.
Sri Lanka decides.
Sri Lanka decides.
Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. We start off the final round, 2 minutes each for closing remarks, and do not bring any new arguments in the final round for the three gentlemen and the lady. We start off the final round 2 minutes with Prashant Viza representing the United Centenary Front.
Shamir, thank you for the opportunity, and I just want to share that as a nation we're at a crucial juncture once again. And it's important that we don't make the same mistakes of the past. Over and over again, the definition of insanity has been proven in Sri Lanka's democracy, is we make the same mistake over and over again. We don't have to be beholden unto the established political parties. And yes, we as a party, the United Century Front, is not contesting at the presidential election, but we are contesting nationwide at the general election. And if you want to be the change and you want to step up and serve, let's start afresh. Because otherwise you'll be defending the sins of established politicians until you're dead and gone. It's important to start. And I really want to even encourage other young people who already may be in these parties and you've got sick and tired because you've been brushed aside by the core, whatever the party is. And you're not able to share your opinions, you're not able to truly see transformation. Now is the time to step out and be part of a truly new journey. And this is not just for young and old who want a new political culture. We can curse the dark all we want or we can be the change. We have to make a sacrifice and we need to engage. And I believe that's what we're stepping into in this time.
Prashant, because you have 1 more minute, I'm going to pose a question to you. There are 39 candidates vying for the top job in Sri Lanka, the 9th executive president of the country. And the UCF has not made a choice yet. What should people consider when they go to the polling booth on the 21st of September?
We have been saying 4 things that we need to all consider. Number 1, each of these individuals, their track record. They've been career politicians for at least 2.5 decades. What have they done? What have they accomplished? Because in Sinhala there's a statement, if you are going to be a great leader, you would have shown signs that you care for the people and that you're leading. Number 2, look at the manifestos and see, is it viable? Is it truly not just pipe dreams? Can they actually accomplish it? Number 3, ask the question, who's the team that will implement? Do they have people of substance, people who have had executive leadership experience to deliver? Because we're not in a playground anymore. This is serious time. But number 4 is don't be blinded by emotion. Ask the hard questions and then you make your decision because it's your children's future at stake.
Thank you very much, Prashant Visa, representing the UCF. First time on Face the Nation. We now move to Amindika Ratnayaka, representing the SLPP. Closing remarks.
Yes. Namal Rajapaksa is the young blood from who have a great vision, that he has a vision to develop the country. Yeah, his father, as we say, till 2015 we saw a massive development in Sri Lanka, but from 2015 the development actually stopped. There was no significant development since 2015. So we are in the process, we are in the lines to develop this country. We have to look individuals. We have to have individuals. There are a lot of unemployments in the country. We have to, the economic has to grow in the country, and as well as all the aspects has to be looked after. So Namal Rajapaksa, from his father, he has political experience and he has been a minister the last 2 to 3 years, and he has the capacity to implement what is needed to the citizens. He loved the country and he will be with the country, and he will look forward for many developments, and he is welcome anyone to hear out the new ideas. As he's in his manifesto, we have a section for innovations. So if the innovations, the interpreters, if the innovations ideas are good for our country, whatever the good ideas that it's good for our citizens, Namal Rajapaksa will open his hands and welcome it.
Amindika, because you have 30 seconds and you brought in a new argument about Namal Rajapaksa being a cabinet minister from 2009-20 to 2022. So he was a part of a failed government.
I won't say it's a failed government. It was a very hard time. But he did his best.
Right. Thank you very much, Amindika Ratnayaka, representing the SLPP. I now move my attention towards Chaturanga Abhisingha, representing the NPP.
Yes, so given all the mess that we have been in due to the previous political regimes, people have now decided to rally around a new team, not only a single person, a new team, a policy, policies and a new team which is will bring new governance, non-corrupt governance and an economic renaissance to Sri Lanka, because we have never been able to get the economic growth that we were supposed to get, and we really believe in economic democracy. I'll give you one example where I stop it, because when we went to Jaffna, the few requirements from that side was that there are 7 islands not developed for tourism, and they give 40% of fishing. There is no port for fisheries, and when they about the agriculture, there's no processing units. Salt is not being processed there, and if you take all those aspects on the development, nothing has gone to north and east. So therefore you need a program that ensures investments would come to those areas, and right for development is given to those areas to spread this economic growth, which is only concentrated into Colombo. So that is only what NPP can bring those things. Others have failed to do so. So we are looking for a 6.5% real GDP growth by 2030 and 45 billion export run rate of all various industries, both service and manufacturing sector. These are well thought through and built by experts around the country and across the country, away from the country as well. So this is a team game, and we are inviting citizens to be part of this journey, this transformation, because first time citizens will rule this government of 21st of century. Thus far, we have been ruled by a set of people, few families and corrupt businessmen to ensure that our children has no right to stay here, and also in terms of making 2/3 of our population to poverty. And this is a chance to change, and we will invite people to take that choice on 21st of September.
Thank you very much. Chaturanga Abhisingha representing the NPP. Chaturanga, you brought in this new argument about 6.5% GDP growth by 2030.
Yeah.
You know, if you are elected to government, 2029 would be your last day.
Sorry? Yeah.
You know that 2024 in 2029 is your last day, last date in office.
Yes.
So 2030.
That is a plan that we have given, right? So we will have the run rate by 6.5.
Right. Thank you very much, Chaturanga Abhisingha. I now move my attention to Krishmal Varansurya representing the SJB.
2 minutes.
Yes, 2 minutes.
Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of time to go through details of our manifesto. But let me just finish by saying these days every evening I run around at least 3-4 little rallies talking to people. Yesterday in my electorate of Moratua, I heard this song, Sinhala song. I'll say the Sinhala words. Mage rata, mau rata, ma ipadunu rata, ma miyadena rata, magema mau rata. I'd like you to walk this dream with me, not for our sake, because our generation must leave a country for our youth and those that come after. I invite you very quickly to look at the JVP, now rebranded as NPP manifesto, 239 pages, lovely reading. But I remember when I read it, the 2015 Hridaya Sakshya Sammutiya or the Conscience Manifesto, a lot of words are the same. I don't even need to talk about the UNP manifesto. It has a lot of songs starting with Baikila Bear, Lalapatale, Yanna Ratavate, Ayanna Kiyanna. Lot of songs. I think Mr. Wickramasinghe has taken this for a joke. However, I invite you to look at our manifesto, where a win for all, very quickly, because I don't have time. The important distinction between executive and legislative power. Limiting the cabinet, page 33. Judicial independence, unlike a president now who thinks he's above the law, how do you ensure judicial independence? Enhancing fundamental rights, including economic, social rights. Corruption and bribery, how do we challenge that? The UN Convention on Anti-Corruption. Code of conduct for members of parliament, what all of you want. This thing about taking vehicles away and salaries away is not what matters. You bind them to a code of conduct. It's there in our manifesto. No family members of politicians. Anti-crossover provision, something that's very close to my heart that I've been speaking with Mr. Premadasa. A crossover provision will entail no one who crosses over, they lose their seat. Legal aid, a strengthening of legal aid, page 34. Laws delays, how do you tackle it? Page 35. A social democratic model. Economic policy, page 9, further enhanced by Blueprint 3.0. I invite you to go online and read it. I'm running very quickly, sorry, because of time. A more productive global economy, okay. And I finish by saying, I don't have the time to go into education, digitalization. I finish by saying President Kennedy said, if we can leave the world when we die, knowing that we have at least tried to make a change, then you have succeeded. I invite you to try with us. Let's make a better country.
Thank you very much, Krishmal. Chaturanga, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond to this because Krishmal brought in a new argument with regard to the manifesto. It's a very similar manifesto that was brought in 2015 and it's the same that is being introduced now. Very quickly, 30 seconds.
No, it is absolutely not. I think people have the right to read it and all that, and it is about the execution. because it is a political will that will change all these manifestos in the reality. So that's what I have to say. Policy is built by many experts, and we can implement this for sure.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Krishmal Varanasuri, representing the SJB. Nice to see you back after a lapse of nearly 4 years, Krishmal. Thank you very much, Chaturanga Abhisingha, representing the NPP. Chaturanga, we are having a debate next week as well on the economic policies of the NPP as well as the SJB. I look forward to seeing you again on Monday on Face the Nation. Thank you very much, Amindika Ratnayaka, representing the Sri Lanka Pojana Peramuna. Thank you very much, Amindika, for joining us this evening on the show. It's your first time on the show. I hope you had a good time and you were able to express your policy candidly to the people. Thank you very much, Prashant, as always, for joining us this evening on Face the Nation. Nice to have you on the show as well, after being an anchor with you a long time ago. Nice to see you in the political stage now, Prashant. Thank you very much, Niresh. Thank you very much, Nadeem. So starting this Monday, we'll be having 3 consecutive runs of Face the Nation. On Monday, we intend to invite members of the NPP with regard to the economic policy. On Tuesday, we'll be having members of the SJB highlighting about the economic policy. It's going to be a very constructive engagement. When you are going to the polling booth to make your vote, you could consider to what these policies are. And on Wednesday, we have representatives from all political parties discussing about what the way forward is for Sri Lanka. That's on next Wednesday. All this will happen starting 9:45 p.m. on TV1. So stay connected, stay with Face the Nation. We would be delighted to take your questions to our panelists as well. I leave you tonight with a quote, as I always do. Our political leaders will know our priorities only if we tell them again and again, and if those priorities begin to show up in the polls. Choose wisely. Take care and good night.